Thanks for joining me for the bonus activity to go along with my Illustrator introduction. In this bonus activity, we are going to do what's called image trace and live paint. And this is a little bit advanced, if you will, but such a cool thing that you can do using Illustrator. We're going to go get a coloring page from 321coloringpages.com. If you're in my handout on page 14, under the bonus activity, I give you the website to go to get specifically to this rainbow coloring page one, if you want to use the same one that I have just for the purposes of this practice. This is a website where you are allowed to reuse their items, so this is a free site that you can use. Therefore, it's something that we can use and not have to worry about. I'm going to right-click and copy this image of this little rainbow clip art. I like this because it is black and white. So we can do whatever we want to it, which is what we are going to do in Illustrator. So I'm going to go back to my Lego guy, and I'm just going to paste this in here. Edit paste, so that you have your rainbow. Now this is a clip art image. Notice that everything we drew in here was so perfect and smooth. Well, this is not. If you look, you can see pixels. And that's because this is a clip art, and it's not digitized as a vector, which is what Illustrator does. So we have a little work we have to do on this. We're going to have to digitize it, okay? Now, I do like to work in the painting workspace when we're doing this instead of this essentials workspace we've been working in. So I'm going to go to Window, and I'm going to go to the painting workspace. If I can get to it here. I'm on the newer version, and it looks like we got rid of, oh no, here we go. Window, I got to get all the way back up here to my workspaces. And then painting. Okay, so we've got our painting workspace loading up. Notice it's got colors and swatches. It's just got kind of the easy things that we would use a lot when we're working with painting these in. Okay, so I've got my painting workspace here. Now, if you had saved this image, instead of pasting it, you would just go to File and Place and go get your image. So either way, you can do that. All right, while the image is clicked on with our black arrow tool, look up at your control bar at the very top. At the very top, we're going to see this button called Image Trace, which means basically all right, magical little guys that hide in our computer, come out with your magical paintbrushes and trace over this and turn it into paths instead of a clip art. Okay, I mean, that's my interpretation, but that's what it is. Okay, so we're going to come up here to that top bar, and if we click that button, we've got to choose what type of a preset we want to use. Now, it chose something for me. See how it's already smooth? But over here where it says preset, it just went to default because it chose for me. But I can go over here and choose some different options. Well, the coloring page, I like to sometimes choose more colors than what it looks like. Like right now, we know this is a black and white thing. So I could choose black and white and it looks the same. I mean, so you have different options in here. I like to kind of go with 6 colors and then reduce my colors to 2 because sometimes it looks a little bit better. To bring up the options to reduce, you click on this little button here, the image trace panel, and then at this point you can reduce your colors. You can also do other things like adjust the lines, the number of paths, the number of corners, and that sort of thing. So you could move this around. It's not making a ton of difference, but if you look here, you'll see the lines and the paths change a little bit. If I say corners more, then it's not going to be quite as smooth in certain places. All that stuff. Anyway, I can hit the exit out on this image trace thing. That looks pretty good. Once you like it, we have to expand it. So we have to turn it into actual artwork. Remember, we've done that before with special effects. We have a button right up here, though, to convert the tracing object into paths. Click expand. All right, so now we see the little blue line things that we see, those edges. A couple of problems we have. One of those, of course, is this is... well, it's got a white background on it, and we don't want it to have a white background on it. So we're going to have to deal with that as well. Now, we'll deal with that in just a moment. What I want to introduce you to is the live paint bucket, the live paint bucket. So to locate that, go look over on your buttons over here. Now, because we're in the painting workspace, we don't have as many buttons here. You might need to press K if you can't find it. Okay, K. And then notice that my live paint bucket shows up over here. So again, if you can't see it, just press K. Okay, press K. You can also access it under the object menu. So you can come up under here also to get to live paint. So if you just don't see it, press K. It'll give you the button or go up to the other menu. All right. You can pick colors from the swatches panel. So you've got your swatches panel here. The live paint lets us fill in all these things with the paint bucket with whatever color is up front. So right now, that middle color that you see is a white color. But what I'm going to do is go over to my swatches panel. I can cycle through the colors in swatches, these colors, by pressing the arrow keys on my keyboard. The down goes down through the colors. See that? It's moving through those. You can go over by using the over keys. See how it's moving on my swatches panel? So I can choose my colors that way. All right. So let's say I want this top one to be red. I take where that black area is and I click, and now that part is red. I can come over here and choose like green and make that one green. I could come choose a blue and make that part blue. So that's kind of fun. You can do that with these real easily using this live paint bucket. And you don't have to worry about like selecting something first and then changing the color up there at the top. You also don't have to worry about getting into isolation mode or anything. So it just makes it a lot easier. Okay. Now, if you have any areas that spill over, it's okay. Just press Control Z. If you have parts that try to go into other sections for some reason, you might have to adjust what's called the gap tolerance. The gap tolerance. It's under gap options, and kind of hard to find where this hides at on here. I'm on a small screen, so I can't see all of my buttons. It's right here next to the expand button, gap options. And you can sit here and tell it to close gaps if it finds gaps. So mine found 2 gaps, but it doesn't seem to be spilling over anywhere. But if yours is, you can tell it to close those gaps. You can modify that. Okay, so that's just FYI. If you're using a different clip art, that might be a problem that you're having. All right, now it's kind of hard to see the fact that this has a white background, so we're going to show the transparency grid. You go to View, and then Show Transparency Grid. And that transparency grid turns all the white areas of the actual artboard clear. But see, now we can see on this clip art that it's clearly not clear. So if I do need areas to be clear, just come over here and choose the Null button on swatches, and then click on those areas that need to be clear, like so. All right, wonderful. So I've got it. I'm literally pretty much done at this point. At this point, I can click off of this and go to my regular black arrow tool. Because we used live paint, we never ungrouped it or anything. Oops, look, I have an area down there that I missed over here in the corner. I'm going to press K to get my live paint and click that area. There we go. All right, and V to go back to my regular selection tool. All right, and that's pretty much it. At this point, if I wanted to put this on his little shirt, I can come through. Remember, hold Shift if you don't want to mess up the shape of it. Pop that on there. And then, of course, I could go back and export him yet again. Just select all of that. Export. I could call it Lego Rainbow Shirt or whatever. And then we're good to go. And then I've got this little piece that's also interchangeable with the rest. But that's essentially how you can digitize a clip art. It's helpful to start with coloring pages. They're kind of the easiest things to use. If you take clip arts that already have color, it is a lot more complicated. You're definitely not going to want to start with more than 6 colors, which will make sometimes the clip art to look a little bit funny. But that's how you digitize. And now it doesn't matter how big I make this. It's not going to be blurry or pixely like it was when we initially put it down. All right, that's your bonus information. I think at least looking at the transparency grid and learning how to use live paint is super, super helpful. And then you don't have to necessarily draw every single thing. All right, good luck to you as you continue your journey in Illustrator.